Let's do it, Karina.
All right, okay. Apologies for anybody who has been waiting on this here. We've run slightly behind technical issues, we'll say. I'm here with Karina of Kari Mind, or sorry, Art Life, isn't it? Apologies.
Kari Light, Kari
Kari
Life
Life Art, Kari
Art.
Life Art. I
Yes.
know it's quite strange actually to see it, because when I was looking at it, I was saying to myself, Carrie, is that her name? Is that because people would say that to me? Are you really Zenith? What is your real name? So it was a bit confusing, but yeah,
Yeah, and it's written in a row on my social media, so yeah, it's
yeah, yeah,
difficult to read it. But my surname is very Polish, Gershberg. So
Gersberg,
I still wanted
Gersberg.
to, yes, so I
Okay, that's
still
lovely.
wanted to make it like easier for people, Kari.Life.Art, and it's because I want my life to look like an art, and I want to inspire everybody else to make their
Beautiful,
life art. Yes.
beautiful. And do you know what? That's, I think, because I haven't really sort of got into explaining who you are, but I think that's very important, and it's something that I always say: we can be whatever we want to be in this world. We can say whatever we want to be. Say we can project whatever we want to project. We're not limited to what we think we are, what other people say. So if you want to turn around and say, well, I want my life to be an art, or this is the way I think about my life, then why shouldn't it? So I think that's beautiful and very inspiring. But
Thank
yes,
you.
Carrie Karina is a holistic health coach. She's also a yoga trainer. Carrie is involved in flexibility and scientific stretching. She does sensual pole dancing, if that's correct.
Yes, you can
Yes.
say that.
Um, and her mission is to help others discover herself. Her podcast is also very, very interesting to listen to. It's called Body is a Temple Podcast, and we're going to get into why she has called it that and what meaning that it has for her. Carrie is originally from Poland, and she has lived extensively in Iceland and Mexico, so she's very, very well traveled. So, Carrie, I hope that's enough of an introduction for you. A very, very warm welcome to the podcast, and apologies for the delay.
No worries. And I see that I need to kind of update my bio because on the way there was Guatemala and now Colombia.
Oh,
So I am in Colombia currently.
wow, wow!
And
That that
I
Go
just
ahead.
came back from the 4-day hike to the lost city in the jungle with like no phones, like no civilization. Kind of, we get to the very rural area where only mules can come, and at the lost city itself, not even a mules can come with the delivery. So everything people need to drag themselves, actually.
I am so jealous. I really, really am so jealous. Like yourself, I've been to Peru. I spent a few days in the Amazon jungle, and my initial interest in going to Peru was to see Machu Picchu, and I knew nothing about Peru other than Machu Picchu. But when I decided to plan a holiday or an adventure to Peru, when I began to discover more, I found that there was so much more calling me to Peru. And when we were kind of almost done, I said, well, it would be such a shame not to go to Peru and not see part of the Amazon jungle. So we tacked on the Amazon jungle onto the journey. And for me, it was kind of like, well, I want to get the Amazon jungle done and out of the road so that I can see, Machu Picchu and Nazca. But probably like yourself, when we got into the Amazon jungle and it was largely deserted, it was just a small camp. It was just amazing being in this wildlife. When we were going to leave, I did not want to leave. I did not want to go back to civilization. It was fairly traumatic to be in that environment, to be in that beautiful natural surroundings, and then have to go back to civilization.
Yeah, that's why I came back to a very small village called Minca here in Colombia to have an opportunity to just go out of home and be in the jungle in a few minutes. Because also I know that I'm going to California later. I want to educate myself more over there in terms of holistic health. So yeah, I'm trying to enjoy those this time as much as possible here still.
Beautiful. Are you in Colombia at the minute, or are you back in Mexico? Because I know that your partner is from Mexico.
Yeah, I am currently in Colombia, and probably after California, I will go to Mexico again. Yes,
Okay, very,
but
very good.
I'm not sure. Let's see. Let's flow.
And just as a point of interest, how long did you spend in, or at what point did you decide to leave Poland?
Well, yeah, this is actually the beginning of my story, kind of, because story probably started a bit earlier even. So I was working in a corporate world in Poland for many years for some big international brands. But at some point, I started more to discover things like yoga,
It's
pole
okay.
dancing. Um, and this experience in the corporate world led me to some kind of trauma and bad experience with the mobbing at work and all this kind of stuff. And I decided to follow my heart and start my own business, which was a great growth opportunity. However, it put me in a position when I was very overwhelmed and burnout also with something that I really love. And after 2 years, I decided that I just don't have the power to go on and do it anymore. It's too much stress. It's too overwhelming. I was like feeling too much burnout or even the depression, because I was too stressed about money all the time. And at the same time, I had the loan in the bank for this business, and I knew that I need to pay this because I'm a responsible person, and I just don't want to, put my head in the sand and pretending nothing happened. So I had to figure out how to earn money fast, and I had a couple of ideas, mostly to going to some other North European countries like Sweden and Norway, but finally I choose Iceland. And as Tony Robbins is saying, how to take the worst thing in your life and turn it into the best one. It kind of happened like that with this, because Iceland it was not even in my list for countries to go and visit.
Mm,
And I was never thinking about living there because I hate cold. But it was a great experience, a great adventure. Also, overcoming my fear of cold and learning about cold therapy and how to, practice cold therapy and learning the breathing techniques, all the Wim Hof coaching things. I
yeah.
went for this one with the coaches. So yeah, and this is how I end up out of Poland for the first time, for the first 3 years. And for me, Iceland had a really great energy for the inner work. And because it's so cold, there's not so much social life. At that time, I wasn't interested in the parties anymore, or like, going to the clubs or bars or this kind of stuff. I was more already interested in holistic health, nutrition, meditation, and self growth. So I had a lot of opportunities to be by myself, and I started to journal daily, meditate daily, doing breathworks daily. I also met my first sound healing goddess,
Wow.
a lady. She's originally from Russia, but she was living in Nepal and Tibet, and she had the metal balls with her. And this is also where I started podcasting. I had access to the podcast studio over there. So yeah, because there was not so much social life for me. Of course, I've been also like pole dance instructor over there, but I think the Icelandic conditions are not very also social friendly, because people live far away from each other. They always need to take a car because the bus usually takes a lot of time, and then you need to wait for the bus or go out in this horrible weather. So it was really difficult to gather people for some just social meetings. I remember when I was finally departing from Iceland, and I said to all my friends, guys, this is the last chance for you to meet up with me, so just come for my goodbye party. And then out of nowhere, finally everybody show up, 30 people in my house. I didn't have a place for them, but that was nice. Yes.
Beautiful. And so from then, what made you decide to move? Was it straight on to Mexico then from Iceland?
So yes, but I wasn't also planning to go to Mexico, and Mexico was also not on my list of the countries that I wanted to go, because I had that stereotype that it's super dangerous and all this kind of stuff. But when the pandemic came and they slowly started to lower the restrictions after, I didn't have much choice, because that was kind of the only open country at the time that
Mm,
didn't require any vaccine or any test, or like there was no any special restriction actually upon arrival. My goal at the time was Costa Rica, but Costa Rica kind of was like not reachable. They required some very expensive insurance that at that time was possible only to purchase through the Costa Rican companies, and it was like $2,000 or something like that for a month. So I was like, no, because I knew that Costa Rica also is not the cheapest country. So I decided that if I'm going somewhere where I have never been, I prefer to like be in an environment that's going to be more like financially friendly for me, just in
mhm.
case I will not be able to work or for the next half a year or something like that, so I can sustain myself, because I didn't know what to expect. And I knew that I have my savings, that if I'm not gonna work for a half year, that's gonna be fine. But in Costa Rica, and paying 2,000 at the very beginning was like, seems too much crazy. So, and I remember my friend was buying some very cheap flights to Mexico in July, and was saying me, "Hey, buy the flights. They're really like £50. Even if you're not gonna go, it's you will have it at least or something." And I was like, "No, no, I'm not going to Mexico. It's so dangerous there." But then in September, I said to him, "Hey, I'm going to Mexico." So yeah, and of course I did some research, and I chose Tulum because it seemed the most like international, and I wasn't mistaken. It was very difficult to learn Spanish there because everybody was speaking English. But that was fun. That was an adventure over there, and I'm just, and wherever I'm saying something to myself now, like I'm never gonna do this or I'm never gonna go there, I'm like, oh, that's warning signs that I'm gonna end up there.
That's amazing. Do you ever think? I suppose you do. Looking at your life now and looking at your life back then, did you ever imagine that you would be in such a, your life would be like this, or your life would have worked out like this, teaching everything, the host of a successful podcast, having a partner who's Mexican, doing everything that you do, the little girl from Poland, I guess.
Yeah, the little girl from Poland, that was some limiting belief that was with me for a very long time, especially when it comes to podcasting, something about that I'm not an English native speaker.
Mm,
So, like, do people understand me? It's like, am I not making any mistakes while speaking and all this kind of stuff? And you know what? Like, I've been at the beginning of this year, I was in Mexico with my friend from Brazil, Livia, and we were sitting by the ocean and having some nice dinner. And yeah, and this is what I said to her, like, Livia, I would never in my life imagine that I'm gonna sit with the Brazilian friend on the coast of Mexico, having dinner on the beach, and enjoying my life in this way. No. But there was some vision that I really wanted to live by the beach, and it, like, being on the beach was always like making me feel so good, and being with the sun, with the nature, and the sounds of the ocean, I guess. So that was something always in the back of my mind, that I wanted to like have more in my life and create this kind of experience in my life, surrounded with the beach. So I haven't been like imagining that it's going to look like that, with the podcast, with the coaching, with all this kind of adventures on the way. But yeah, just I was more like focusing about the beach itself.
brilliant. And so what I kind of also kind of want to know is, you did work for corporate marketing for a while. I'm assuming that was in Poland before you decided to, that this wasn't satisfying you. You decided to move away, and you've obviously mentioned that you were quite the party girl, at that stage in your life. And I'm assuming all this was in Poland at the same time.
Yes, correct.
Poland. Yeah. So I'm assuming then, obviously, being a party girl, it leads to a certain kind of lifestyle, parties and, alcohol and probably other things, and, all that sort of stuff that would potentially go with that kind of thing. And I'm imagining that this is why, you've called your podcast Body as a Temple, because um after kind of the, I don't want to say abuse, but all of the things that go with a party lifestyle, because we've all kind of been there, at some stage, that decided my body is no longer going to be used. I'm not going to abuse my body anymore. I'm going to look after it. It's going to become a temple, because I know that you're obviously into your health and stuff like that. And I just want, because what I'm trying to get at here is that your life kind of at the minute sounds very idyllic. And for anyone listening to this here, they'll go, wow, I would love a lifestyle like that, a successful podcast host, a yoga trainer, a health coach, sensual pole dancer, probably hunky Mexican boyfriend, lived in different countries. And so that all sounds amazing, but I'm just trying to get some of your background to see, what motivated you to kind of give up that lifestyle, that you were kind of in, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. And when I was like walking down from this for the hike, I was listening to some podcast, and the person was saying about the success. That's something that you're talking about right now. Like people look at successful people and they think, oh, I would like to have this success. But the
Mm-hmm.
truth is that the successful people are successful because they do what most people don't want to do. And the reason why I'm doing and having all of that is because I put the work to this. And it's every dream that is coming true in your life is coming with the responsibility.
Yeah.
Living in a different countries requires from you learning the language. And of course I can speak English in those countries here. Of course it's easy because most of people do speak, but to really organize your life more comfortable, it's better to speak Spanish as well. And you need to learn how to navigate through so many things. You need to sometimes be in the places that you don't want to be because you have no choice, because you not have anything better, but you need to learn how to enjoy what you have. And this process of this change and transformation, it was not overnight. It started actually when the corporate that was working for was a JTI. It was a tobacco company, and but they were giving to the employees a sport card for different venues. And at that time I was lazy, so I just chose something that was the closest to my house, like a 5-minute walk, and it was a yoga studio. And I was very fortunate that I had a very mindful teacher who was really teaching a true yoga, which is not only making a different poses, but also working with your mind and with your own limitation. So I get hooked into yoga because I went for the first class. It was an introduction class. He was forcing everybody to come to introduction class before going to regular classes. So there was kind of like a discipline. And it was horrible for me. It was, an hour and a half of sweating. I couldn't do anything. Everything was so difficult. I couldn't touch my toes, like every pose was like crazy. And this is where I actually discovered, like, wow, so those are my limits. And I saw that people around me might be a little bit better, or even the instructor was, really much better, right? And I thought like, okay, so it's possible to do all these kind of things with the body. So that's cool. Let's try it on. And it bring me some joy, and I started to go more and more. And then I discovered the pole dancing, which was also very horrible for me at that time, because yoga didn't build me strength. It was building me flexibility, but didn't build me strength. So my first pole dance class was also horrible because I couldn't do anything. And it was also very painful, because if you're not, doing the tricks the right way with your muscles, you're getting a bruises. Um, but yeah, at that time I enjoyed a lot. And then I also discovered the gym. The gym helped me to build the strength, and I started to see improvement in my yoga very fast. So I started to be interested in that. And then I started to think, okay, maybe I can do some course to learn more about actually how to train in the gym, how to, what to eat and all this kind of stuff. So then I started to study this in a Polish Sports Academy to become a fitness instructor, personal trainer, and nutritionist. Over time, I also did the yoga teacher training, some other, flexibility and scientific stretching trainings. So I'm actually constantly learning all the time, doing some courses, mostly online, or also while traveling. I'm learning also about the cacao ceremonies from different yoga instructors, going to different places. So it's a constant process. But it started, I think, when I was around 27. So it was more or less 13 years ago. So a while. And I started to see a first like a significant result, I think, after like 6 years, when I really started to see my body is changing, my mind is changing. I'm becoming more disciplined, because I was keep, drinking and smoking, maybe not smoking when I started to be interested in fitness, but I was like still interested in parties and drinking. And I remember at some point I came for some pole dance class, and I wouldn't say I had a hangover, but I wasn't like in my best, because I had a couple of drinks the night before. And I thought, no, like those drinks weren't worth it to not being on my best in my pole dance class, because having a trick when I can hang on my one leg upside down is just bringing me much more fun and much more long-term benefits than those two drinks. So over a time, it was getting less and less and less. And for a long time, I had, I wouldn't say problem with alcohol, but I was like, I got to the different extremes. So I stopped drinking, and I hated drinking, and I had the drinkers. But then now I discovered that that's not also the goal. The goal is the balance, and
Yeah.
sometimes, everything is given by the mother nature. And I believe the alcohol has a purpose as well. And it's okay if someone, if it's not against your religion or something, if you feel like having some alcohol once a while, and just don't like shaming and blaming this, because I get to this extreme that it's become for me like forbidden territory. But at the same time, wherever you're pushing away so hard, it always hunting you back.
Yeah,
So yeah.
absolutely. That's really interesting. And there's a couple of points that I could kind of touch on there, but yeah, I think you're right. I think that maybe you'll agree with this statement. For those of us who are kind of looking for more in life, for the things that we have in life just don't seem to satisfy us. We're looking for something bigger. We're looking for something more satisfying. We're looking for something ultimately kind of spiritual, a spiritual meaning to our life. But before we have these things in our life, before we understand these, the world can seem kind of difficult. We don't seem to fit in, because we don't understand our life's purpose. We don't feel like we truly belong, and those feelings are hard. And for most of us anyway, we've nobody really to turn to. We've nobody to really to confide in to, and so we kind of try to dull that pain and dull those feelings with things like alcohol. and drugs, because I understand, because I've been through there myself, and I've struggled long and hard with alcohol moderation and drinking to excess and not drinking to excess and trying to stop. So I'm just reaching a point in my life now where, as you quite rightly say, I'm reaching that balance now where I'm going, okay, well, I don't have this toxic relationship with alcohol anymore. I don't need to overindulge in it, and I don't need to be this pioneer from it. So I can almost at the point now where I can go, okay, well, I can have some alcohol in moderation, not drink to the way I was, but I'm okay with not drinking at the same time, because I think I'm more in balance now, more in tune with myself. Um, so I don't know, as I said, if you would agree with that. It's because we're trying to dull something inside us because we don't feel satisfied in our life. Have you any thoughts around that?
Yeah, definitely. I was not feeling happy in my life. So that was the way for me to kind of escape. And I was not feeling happy in my life to the point that I was even trying to commit suicide at the age of
Mm,
17. Um, and but after that, I still didn't feel happy, but I didn't know other ways to find this happiness. And of course, the alcohol and the drugs are kind of like an instant transportation to some other state of mind. And of course, when I discover, meditation and mindfulness and yeah, I think like a spiritual practice, my life changed because I realized that I can be in the same state of happiness and bliss, just standing in the ocean or on the beach, and dancing on the sunrise, and that has no side effects, no hangover, no, yeah, and it's lasting longer and just and just much more cool. But it's been a while to get to the States, and at this point, actually, I kind of feel like I'm living in a wonderland, and all these places where I am traveling to, where I always was dreaming to travel to, or not maybe dreaming, but that I wanted to live this kind of life. Even though I didn't know that I'm going to be in Mexico or Colombia, I wasn't thinking about those countries. But I knew that I want to see more. I want to explore more of the world, of the different cultures. I don't want to live so-called 9 to 5 life that I was living at that time, but I didn't know how to do it because I was afraid to make my conscious decision and leave my job, or I was I thought, I'm just gonna maybe travel once a while, but that was also not a good thing because then wherever I was traveling and drinking. So I wasn't really enjoying the experience because it was more like a party traveling because um, I didn't feel, financially abundant enough to just like go somewhere and live and don't not worry about money. And paradoxically, when I just lost everything, and not only lost everything, but also get myself into the big debts, that was the time when I swear finally find the courage to make this step because I like didn't have any other choice.
yeah.
And yeah, and of course I had to go to Iceland to work there, but it was a different country and it was really interesting country, and I saw many beautiful things over there, and it opens me the door to fix
Mm.
my financial situation, start traveling to America, start saving money as well, and make the rest of the dreams happen.
It's such an inspiring story. It really is. And I think that sometimes when we lose everything is when we gain everything, as you quite rightly say. We think that, I think it's this kind of I've talked about this before, but it's the idea of attachments in our lives. We're afraid to lose what we think that we have, even if it's very, very little. Because change is hard and the unknown is scary. Um, But as you say, paradoxically, once you kind of lose your old life is when you're ready to step into this new life, and it's almost like being reborn again. Funnily enough, when I was actually listening to something, and I don't, not that I don't like, but I always kind of struggled, or always kind of had a kind of negative thought form about the idea of being born again, because it's a kind of Christian thing, and it's a fundamental Christian thing. And I thought, these people who are displaying that they're born again, and they don't know what they're talking about, coming from a spiritual perspective. But then I listened to something, and they were talking about the idea of being born again can also apply to spirituality. Once you have an awakening, that is being born again. Once you lose everything and discover a new life, that is being born again. So every time you go through an awakening, or any time you go through a spiritual experience, you're being born again, just like a Christian. So it's just kind of made me look at that idea of being born again in a completely different life. And so now I'm happy to say I am born again.
I would go even further. You are born again every day when you wake up.
Oh, that is beautiful. Beautiful. That is absolutely beautiful. One of the things.
Try to wake up with this curiosity, like you are, like this is your first day or on earth, and you're waking up and you open your eyes and you're looking around and thinking, far out, how did I get here?
That's actually very beautiful, and very something I can relate to, because sometimes I would write messages, sometimes like my higher self, or beings in the higher realms would give me messages, and it forms a large part of my blog. And one of the messages they give me, I would just hear the thing, and I know that I have to write. So one of the things they were talking about is this kind of like drudgery that we face in our lives, about being unsatisfied with our life, about not being happy in the jobs that we kind of do, and wanting something more. And the message was kind of like, well, there's nothing we can really do to change that. But if you wake up each day like a child, with a sense of wonderment, and go, wow, I wonder what the day has in store for me. I wonder what magical things, or what's going to happen for me. Then your whole day can be transformed. So just exactly as you're saying there, it's all about your mindset, really, isn't it? It's about waking up and go, I've been born again. It's a fabulous life. How did I get here? What is the day going to have in store for me? Then I think generally your day will go much easier than if you wake up and go, oh, the same thing again.
Exactly. And, you know, there is no perfect life. And even if you might see someone from the outside that living a life that you are kind of like dreaming about or craving thing, we all have our challenges. And the difference is like, uh, the way how we deal with challenges, because we can just, give up and cry or make a
Mhm.
drama or like get angry, or we can say, okay, I'm not gonna have this one now, or like this is what it is, and either I can be angry or I can just deal with that, and for example, this 4-day hike that I did was amazing thing, but not it wasn't perfect. Like we were living in a camps where there were like 100 people at one time, and we had just like everybody just had they bunk bed, bed. And because it's Colombia, they do wash the bed sheets and everything, but for me, it's not the European standard, so I wasn't like really happy about the laying down on this bed and having all these people around me all the time. And the bathrooms where hundreds of people are using every day, like you can imagine, how the bathrooms look like. There was no toilet paper, always all the time. You had to take care of your toilet paper, policy always. And so there was lots of challenges, but I could be like get angry, and I could
Mm.
think like, oh my god, no toilet paper, how was this, I'm paying for that, and I could just laugh and say, okay, I just need to go to my guide and ask them for a toilet paper because they usually have it. So you know it's always the way how we deal with things.
Absolutely. And I think this is the problem. I think most people don't understand the nature of trauma. They don't understand why these things are coming into our life. I kind of look at them as gifts that we're being given rather than a negative thing, because as you rightly said, it makes us go inside, do the shadow work, do the um, do the inner work. It helps us evolve. It helps us understand um, what it is that makes us happy in the life. It's the outer world that no longer makes us happy. We're looking for something different. We're kind of wondering, and so most people, well, not most people, a lot of people, as you say, have a mindset, oh, poor me, why did this happen to me? And they kind of don't do anything with it. So it's really for those people who go, well, okay, I'm in this situation, this event has happened to me. How can I understand this? How can I grow from it? How can I learn and evolve and change? And I think when you do that there, then you become more empathetic towards people. You want to help other people. It's part of your spiritual journey, of understanding what these things are. And so at some point, I think in your journey, then you want to naturally give back. You want to help other people, as you're quite rightly doing in your journey, um, letting people know exactly who they are and who they can be without these limitations.
Yeah, exactly. And this is part of responsibility in the spiritual journey, that we need to share what we have learned. And yeah, Ram Dass is saying about that. I love Ram Dass. He's my
I
great
know.
mentor and great guru. I love to listen to him. And also my life, I feel, changed when I started to listen to his lectures. And I really started to experience this unconditional love that he's talking about, that he experienced with his guru. So I think it's also important to find something in the life that makes us feel good, some kind of way of philosophy that helps us. Not for everybody needs to be Ramdas. For you as a Christian can be praying, for example, and talking with God. Why not? But everybody can find something that uh, in some difficult moments or some moments they can turn to and use to start to feel better.
Yeah. I also know that Yogananda, as someone who very much inspires you as well. I've listened to his autobiography, and I actually get quotes every day sent to me from email, that just constantly remind you. And it's such an important person. The journey that he had, the gurus that he learned under, it really is quite amazing, listening to it. So, could you kind of let us know the importance of Yogananda, what it is that you've learned from his philosophy, his self realization fellowship, and what lessons have you taken from him and his philosophies?
Mm, yes.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
No, no, no. I'm just thinking where to start. I do like the autobiography of the yogi, and it's one of the most famous book, I think, because of Steve Jobs. However, there's a much shorter book, also really profound, about the law, like a law in the court of success.
Yeah.
And that was very profound for me. I think I heard it like 10 times, sometimes like 3 times in the row. First time when I heard this, and it's teaching you about how to deal with basically everything in life, and how to create your dream life using your own willpower, and how not to be a victim, how to be responsible for the work that you're creating, because you are making decisions every day, every minute. And that is what's creating your vibration field, and that is what leading you to next situations, next circumstances, next people that you are meeting. And I think when I understood this one, um, everything around me starts to change. I was, I had lots of this limiting beliefs about, the Polish little girl not speaking not speaking English good, like attracting the wrong people. And it is a process. I'm not saying that I master that,
Yeah.
but I'm not blaming other people wherever I am in some situations that I don't like. But I'm looking at myself and thinking, okay, so what can I do differently that's going to bring me a different outcome? And at the same time, also being patient, because things are not happening overnight, and sometimes we need to wait for the result, sometimes couple of years. And we need to have the destination that we are sailing to, and not being distracted, because I think that the main problem for people of getting what they want is like they have something in mind, they sailing toward this harbor, but they're getting distracted on the way. And I see it through myself as well, like I want this one, but at the same time I'm getting distracted on the way, and like starting doing something else and forgetting about that. So yeah, it's a constant process, and I'm using the principles of willpower, dynamic willpower, constructive mind from this book, and meditation and self-analysis, wherever I'm coming through the challenges. I
Beautiful.
highly recommend this book.
Yeah, I know that you've talked about that too. You've mentioned meditation there, and meditation is something that I constantly talk about. No matter what form you do or what you're doing it for, it can really help with a multitude of things. Listening to Yogananda, they talk about doing like an hour's meditation as if it's nothing. We sat down for an hour. Like, wow. Sometimes they're doing 3 hours meditation. And although I talk about the importance of meditation, I think that a lot of us, myself included, always find an excuse not to do meditation. We put our chores and our tasks in front of meditation. I'll do my meditation once I have this crossed off or this crossed off, or I can't do meditation because I've got that. But because meditation is such a central practice in our life, because it's such an important part of our life, because it can help us change, then surely meditation should be the most important thing that we should do in our life.
Okay, define meditation first. What's your
Um,
definition of meditation?
Meditation for me, I guess it depends what you're looking. Meditation or different meditations. Meditation is about going within. It's about finding that silence, that stillness within, cutting yourself off from the physical material world, and developing that connection with the inner you and the divine that you can find within meditation. So that would be my definition of meditation, but there are obviously other meditative practices where you can focus on something. You can focus on a desire, or a help, or something that you want to see manifest into your life. But mostly I use meditation, as I said, in order to shut down the noise and shut down the nonsense, if you like, that constantly circles around us each day, and to find peace and stillness within. And when I do that, I generally find that, not all of the time, but I come out a more balanced, centered person, and happier person, and calm and relaxed. And sometimes in meditation, I can have very, very deep spiritual experiences that I can take and try to understand what is being shown to me, and try and take forward into this physical world. So that, in a nutshell, is meditation.
Yeah, very big nutshell. I treat it much more simple. For me, meditation is being present.
Mm,
Being present, that means even when you're listening to your favorite song, but it's your favorite song, so you're very within the sounds, within the words, within whatever you are hearing, and you doing what you actually said. So you are kind of like shattering the noise and you're just present with the song, or when you go for a walk, or when you are
Mm.
reading a book, or even when you're playing with kids or with your dog or cat, but you are fully present and you are fully
Yeah.
giving yourself into this moment and not thinking about, you know, all the world around. So looking at meditation like that, you can do meditation in many different ways, as I said, as reading a book, even cooking,
Yeah.
or talking with someone. And I do
Taking a bath.
yeah, and I currently do some live streaming guided meditations, and the goal for that is to take people into the guided situation that I am having during this meditation, and so they can maybe not think about nothing during the meditation, what most people think, but they can be present with my voice and just following the instructions. Um, so this is for me meditation. And of course, yes, there are some um, techniques where you are following your breath, focusing on the breath, and you're sitting for an hour and you're trying to pretend that you're comfortable and all this kind of stuff. And yes, but from what I've learned from Paramahansa and Ramdas, is when you really understand what meditation is, you understand that every second of your life is meditation. Even our conversation here and now is meditation, because we are present, we are listening. I'm listening to your
Mm.
questions, trying to, open answer from the place of my heart. You're listening to me, carefully. So that this is my approach to
That
meditation.
that no, that's beautiful too. You're right. I just probably wouldn't have associated that with meditation, but I understand the importance of being present. Too many people look to the past and have regrets and want to go back and change the past. At the same time, perhaps the same amount of people are constantly looking to the future. If only this will happen. I can't wait to this here. I want this to happen. This here. And as you rightly say, they're missing the present. You're missing your life because you're not living in the present. You're not living presently. And if you're not living presently, you're not happy. So it's when you start to say, okay, well, I want to live presently. I want to live in the present. Then you begin to examine your thinking. Okay, well, what way am I feeling at the minute? What am I thinking? And then you begin to realize your own thoughts, don't you? You begin to go, oh, right, my thoughts are not in the present. I'm not appreciating what is happening right around me, whether it's taking a walk in nature, whether it's simply enjoying even the food that you eat. I've had to train myself to do this here, which is stop distracting myself when I'm eating, picking up a phone or listening to something. It's about simply eating and enjoying the process of eating. So it's about, as you rightly say, being present in everything that we do, um, and being aware of our thoughts at the same time. And also, one of your favorite things is being aware of small talk, um, and just appreciating small talk for what it is, being present in that instead of going, "Oh, I hate small talk."
Yeah, and you were asking, like, should the meditation be the most important thing
Mm,
for us? Um, well, yes, but I think if someone is not really like familiar with the meditation, never tried, or like thinking about this, like, oh, I'm not gonna sit and think about nothing, I would say that most important thing will be gratitude. The best, if you can write, 3 things that you are grateful for every day. That,
mhm.
in my opinion, that will be a game changer for people, because you really need to be like get hooked into the meditation and all this kind of stuff to like experiment with that and do maybe different things and different techniques. But I like things simple, like just write. You can think about this, but it's better to write down just 3 things that you're most grateful for. And it's really changing the energy straight away, and you are realizing that, oh my God, my life is not that bad. And even if it's just a simple thing, like I had a cup of coffee, or I don't know, I wake up in a clean bed, wherever, but the energy grows where energy goes. And when you are focusing on the positive things in your life, the more positive things are coming.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah,
Yeah.
that will be something the most important, I would say,
Okay,
in my
well
opinion.
let me take this a step further and bring your own words back to you. How about being grateful? Because I've started doing this practice of waking up each morning and having gratitude for whatever the day gives to me, whether it's a positive or negative event. It's just being grateful for everything that is going to come to me in my life. So yes, absolutely, you're right. And just as another small point about meditation, I guess that although I talk about these kind of deep and silence and all the rest of it, a lot of my meditative practices, which kind of feeds into gratitude, is this concept of love, of having love and sending out love and being grateful. And once you're grateful, then you are in love, aren't you? You're in love because you're grateful for the things that have come into your life. So part of my meditation practices is gratitude and sending love to all those who helped me along my journey and for all those things that they have helped me along with my life. So I just wanted to make that small point there.
Yeah, beautiful. I like that too. And like, and it's also like changing, we have like some phases. Like I had different phases in Iceland because I maybe had more time for journaling. Here more things are going on, so I'm more
Mhm.
like into kind of like journal in my mind, which is okay. It's okay to change it. We don't need to have the same routine whole our life.
Yeah.
So I think also what is good with the podcast, like we doing, we can share that, and everybody can listen, and they can try maybe what you're doing, what I'm doing, and they see what works for them.
Yeah, and that, yeah, just to sort of feed onto that. You're absolutely right. Sometimes, like I would go, well, I'm not maybe as dedicated, or I'm not striving for that, spiritual perfection like I was doing. But it doesn't always have to be like that. Maybe that was just a period in my life in which that was needed, and now I've kind of changed. I'm doing this role now. I've become so incredibly busy with creating media, with creating content just to share with people. And this is okay too. This is another part of my life, and it's just another part of my life in which I'm able to help more people. Maybe that part of my life was needed for me back then in order to develop the person that I am now, so that I can share more of myself with people. There was something else I wanted to talk about, and I've completely forgotten. um, no, I can't remember. Yeah. Just this concept of love and gratitude and being grateful for everything that we kind of have in life. But your podcast too, and my podcast, and that's exactly what I wanted to talk about, is that I was talking about this and this other thing that I've got signed up to, and I don't know how I've got into it. It's called Wisdom. And from what I can see of it, you give live talks, which was another kind of step for me. I was, oh God, now I'm broadcasting live to people, and people can come on and be a live guest. But anyway, one of the last things I was talking about there was this kind of dream of mine of inclusivity. I can't remember that word. I think a lot of people in this kind of medium, this spiritual thing, they're off doing their own thing. You're doing your thing, I'm doing my thing. You're in your bubble, I'm in my bubble. And even within this format, there can still be a bit of an ego. People think that, well, I need to have all the listeners that I can have. I need to have all the subscribers that I have, and I don't want to share with someone else because I'm afraid of them taking some of my listeners or my subscribers away. But kind of the thing that I was saying, well, we need to, in order to change this world, we all need to come together. We all need to share. It's not about how many subscribers you have or how many listeners I have. We just need to share and form teams. And so them isolated bubbles can merge and form bigger bubbles. And so everybody can then sort of come together and sort of join forces, if you like, so that we can ultimately then have enough power to change the world. I just kind of wanted to know your thoughts on that.
Yeah, like I, as a woman, always felt more into cooperation, and I had it was my kind of I don't know if I can call it limiting belief or disadvantage that I never understood this competitive nature, because wherever I was like showing up somewhere, I was thinking, okay, so what can we do together? Like, how can we support each other to get more? While, of course, in the men's world, there's a lot of competition and lots of this kind of thinking about how to be better than someone, have more likes, more views, more whatever thing. So, but between women compete for a man. This is like a different levels with this. So there is always some competition somewhere. But since I started to travel here in Latin America, I was very fortunate to meet so many different women from all over the world, also from this part, but also like coming from Europe and living here. And this society that I met here is more like focused on this cooperation that you are talking about, and how we can support each other, how we can do more together, and it started with in Tulum. Like, actually, that's why I choose Tulum, because I saw already on Facebook that there's a girls gang, and then they have the meetings every week, so that was actually, I was like, okay, I'm going there because this town sounds cool. So I like to be with a creative, successful woman. I want to learn from them. I want to, see what we can do together. And I wasn't mistaken, because this girls gang work like that. And there was like a group of women that we were gathering, doing some networking things, and then we were sharing, like, okay, who's doing what kind of support they need, what can we do together. And I was like really amazed, because finally I felt that I am with people who know that we and embody this, that together we can do more. And when we stop competing with each other and see how we can use our unique skills, we can change the world faster. So I hear your point and totally agree with that.
Yeah, I do think it's important because everybody has, as you rightly say, has different skill sets. Everybody has different attributes about them, and you're just our interview, our podcast here at the minute has been an exchange of ideas, and I've said something and then you've kind of expanded upon it, and maybe you've said something and I've expanded upon it, and that goes to show you the concept and the value of cooperation is that we can have greater ideas and expand upon concepts more when we're together rather than being on our own. So we should be cooperating more with each other instead of um, feeding into that still illusion and that narrative that we think that we've escaped from, which is this idea of, well, I'm spiritual, which means um I've escaped that old way of thinking, but you obviously haven't. If you still have that ego about yourself where you're thinking, I need all the listeners, I need all of the subscribers, instead of just going, well, it's not about that, it's about cooperation. And one of the things that interests me about your podcast when I started to research you is it kind of chimed with my own podcast, because you have quite a wide variety of people on your podcast from all kind of walks of life and all kind of teachings. And I think a lot of the people can get into this habit of going, well, this is what I talk about, this is what I'm interested in. So I'm not going to have someone on who maybe will challenge my beliefs, or I don't really agree with what they talk about, so I'm not going to have them on. But from what I've listened from your podcast, you've had a variety of people on, even if you're not overly fluent in that aspect of what you have. And there's been people on my podcast who I have initially went, I don't know if I could, interview you. You're saying you're a Christian, or you'll have to forgive me. Even when I found out nothing about yourself, I was kind of looking and going, I don't really know anything about her. Does she? Is there something about this person that will really I can talk about? But it was giving people a chance and going, okay, well, let me look at their body of work, let me listen to something, let me read what they're saying, and then I can find one thing about them, and then maybe I can, by listening to more of their content, and I go, okay, well, I have more in common with this person than I initially would have thought. And if I hadn't have taken that opportunity to do a bit of research on them, I never would have had the opportunity to have the person on my podcast and learn from them like I am from you now.
Yeah, totally. Well, people are different, but I have same goal always. I want to have guests that they can bring value to my audience, and that they can show a ways how they can make a better life, make more healthy life in the holistic way, which means not only, what's the best recipe or like the best exercise, but sometimes, the best method to understand themselves and who they are. So that's why, for example, I have, podcasts about the cacao ceremony or Vedic astrology. And at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
I have a guest talking about hydrogen or some other like science related technology, because it all makes sense for me. As you mentioned, the body is a temple for the soul. That's the main theme of my podcast, to learn how to operate through that 3D world, which is the body that we are materialized in this body, but the temple, which is the place where the spirit live, right? So and I believe wherever someone religion is, uh, at some point everybody feels that, okay, we can do so much with the science, with the medicine, but there is something more that is kind of like undescribed, and we can check it very very easily no matter how much someone is into the science and non-spiritual world, everybody feels love. And how you can measure love through science? No. Of course you can measure a chemical reaction in your body when you feel a certain feeling, but can you really measure what is this experience and how it influenced your life and your thoughts? No, not really. And and if you're going to say, oh, but I don't feel really love, it's just a chemical reaction in my body, so probably you're kind of like a robot a little bit.
Beautiful. Yeah, and obviously you've called your podcast, Body as a Temple. For me, our bodies are only on loan to us. We have the loan of this physical vehicle in order to carry us about, in order for us to learn lessons, and we should be respectful of this vehicle that is on loan to us. And obviously there's a lot of people who don't respect the physical vehicle. And like yourself, it's taken me many many years in order to actually learn that, and to learn to respect my body. But I guess learning to respect your body isn't just about keeping it healthy and exercising, because people can then still abuse their body in that way by over exercising and taking supplements and steroids and drugs like that in order to make it more healthier. I think a more sustainable way of looking after your body is through nutrition, through understanding what you're taking into your body, the chemicals that you're allowing to come in contact with your skin through your shampoos, your moisturizers, your toothpastes, things like that there. And I know that this makes up a very large part of your life. So it's not something for me, and I'm sure you're the same, that you overnight decide this is it. It's something that gradually unfolds, and you begin to have more awareness around these health issues. And I'm wondering, could you just talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I'm not also perfect in that, especially while traveling. No, always I can have, my favorite products that I want to use. And sometimes I need to, buy some mainstream product, let's say. But usually I love the apple cider vinegar drinking in the
Yeah.
morning, and I can say that I can open the apple cider church and like encourage everybody to drink it. I
You
love the
don't drink it raw, do you?
I drink it with water, so you can say
Ah,
I
yeah,
drink it raw. I mix 2 spoons of apple cider
yeah.
with water, and sometimes I don't have this one, so then I'm just looking for what I have, like a lemons, or limes or whatever thing. Or if I don't have this one, at least I have always water. So this is the first thing in the morning that is very important for me to hydrate my body. And as I said, this one, and I love the coconut oil, which I use extensively for everything, my hair, my skin, um, and just like I think the main thing is just trying to do the best with the things that you have around you. So just by like thinking about that, wherever you put on yourself, on your skin, um, the skin absorbs everything. It's like the biggest organ. It's like you will eat that. So whatever you're putting on your skin, it's going into your body, into your bloodstream, into your veins. So just by knowing that, you can just pay attention to the products that you use. And um, it's actually occurred that it's much easier and cheaper to use natural products, because apple cider vinegar usually is
Mhm.
available in most places, and things like a coconut oil, they are also. Of course, for washing hair and maybe some other things, sometimes you need to use something else, but just like being mindful that wherever you have a possibility to use products that are more eco-friendly, more sustainable, also that are made maybe with some handmade or local, that you're supporting people who are doing things in the area where you're living. That also brings um, yeah, a lot of mindfulness.
Mhm.
Just a quick question: how long much more you want to talk?
Yeah, yeah, about 5, 10 minutes, because I
Okay,
want to get
perfect.
on to your coaching programs and then just wrap it up.
Okay.
So yeah, just now that you mentioned that, we want to talk about some of the coaching programs that you do. You're obviously a health coach or a yoga coach. You teach people the value of themselves. Do you also teach your pole dancing to people if they want to learn it, or is that just a private practice?
So currently, because of I'm moving quite a lot this year, and I'm going to keep moving. Most of the things are online, and I don't travel with my pole. So the pole dance, this is not a pole dance year, but I do live streams of the meditation this month, and next month going to be a breathwork sessions.
All right.
Um, I'm mostly guiding people to my podcast, because that's the platform where I talk about what's currently in my offer, because the offer is also changing depending on what I'm doing, what is available for me. Um, Most of the things are, of course, related with health. I was very fortunate now to meet also in Colombia my business husband, and we are making some business baby connected with marketing and spirituality. So I'm connecting my biggest passion to health and spirituality with my experience in marketing. And for a long time, this is another thing that I was kind of trying to push away, this corporate past that I have. But at the same time, I discovered that this experience and knowledge that is easy for me and I have for so many years, I can turn it to helping other people with their business and how to market this and how to provide services and change the world with these services. So, like with this marketing project, we are focusing on wellness. So everybody who are coaches as well, or instructors will benefit with this. But as I said, it's just like a beginning of this. We're just like choosing the name now and trying to like build, how we want to present it to the world. But this is going to be some offerings that I'm going to have soon. So yeah, this is the podcast is the main platform to connect with me and to kind of listen to what's up, what's kind of meditations or the breath work or other things I'm having online at the moment.
Okay. Well, I wish you all the very best success in this new adventure that you're doing. And maybe once it's up and running and becomes a great success, I'll have you back on again to talk about it. Yeah. So then where then can people find you if they want to connect with you, if they want to check out your work then?
Yeah, so on the social media, Kari.Life.Art, it's Kari. It's a shortcut from my name, and add magic to that. So it's Kari.Life.Art Magic, everything together on Facebook and on Instagram. You can find as well, and the podcast. If you're gonna type in the Google podcast, "Body is a Temple," it's gonna pop up the podcast website. But you can also find it on Spotify and or iTunes or other podcast platform wherever people listen to the podcast. If they're gonna type "Body is a Temple," it should pop up. There's black
Yeah.
and white picture and the name of the podcast.
Yeah, there's it's on quite a number of formats because I've looked at it myself. I'll post all the links. And you're also on YouTube as well. You've done some yoga videos, yoga instruction videos, and unless you're actually quite adapted yoga, I would suggest be cautious because I almost broke my neck trying to copy one of your moves.
You need to send me with which class you try to do it. So I'm gonna add warning.
Brilliant. And Carrie or Karina, is there one kind of philosophy? Because I know that you do this too, and I do it too in my podcast. So I'm going to ask you for one key philosophy, a message that you can sum up, a message of hope, of inspiration, of love that you can just give to people and they could take away with them now.
Well, I have a tattoo.
Okay.
Beauty awaken the soul to act.
Wow.
So just surround yourself with the beauty wherever you define as a beauty, and wherever you are, if you're not in a place that you want to be, or if you don't have things that you want to have, just put something beautiful that's gonna give you hope. A flower, a candle, essential oil, wherever, because that's going to inspire you to keep going, to reach for your dreams, reach for the stars.
Beautiful. That is absolutely amazing. Karina, thank you so much for giving your time up today, for being a beautiful guest, for sharing your knowledge, for connecting with me and actually helping and instructing me. And I really do enjoy your podcast and I hope that people will check it out. I certainly will be listening to a few more episodes myself. But yeah, like I said, hopefully when this big success comes off and you become a multimillionaire, you'll come back on and give us another interview and let us know how it's going.
Thank you so much. I'm not sure if a multimillionaire is a goal, but unless you're going to describe it as inspiring multi-millions of people in the
Yeah.
world. But yeah, definitely. Thank you so much. And thank you for inviting me also to your show.